Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pregame Network podcast, the only gaming news show on the internet that's not afraid to offend anybody. So, welcome back. Did I say this was episode 80?
I'm gonna assume you did because it's one of those, blink and you miss it kind of things. If not, it's episode 80. Say it three times.
Episode 80. Woohoo. Almost at
Woo!
100.
Yeah.
I am your host, Dan, joined by my bestest pal, Anthony, and just going to talk about some gaming stuff. So, but before we do that, as per usual, what we've been playing this week, and then we'll just get right into it. So, my list really hasn't changed. I'm pretty sure Battlefield has got me by the balls at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Yeah. The only new thing that I have tried, which is going to roll into like other stuff, so I kind of even hesitate to bring it up right now. Number one is Black Ops 7, which I have definitely have some stuff to say about that.
Yeah.
Number two is Arc Raiders, but I'll save that for later. But as far as like the things that like I've actually been putting like serious time into, Finals, Battlefield, and more Space Marine. For some reason, like I'm really into Space Marine 2 again.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so that is what I've been playing.
Yeah, Space Marines.
Like I said, I'll get to after you tell me what you've been playing. I might as well give like my first impression and thoughts about Black Ops 7 and Arc Raiders. So, wow. With that out of the way, what have you been playing this week, bud?
I mean, hey, I'm kind of in the same boat where not much has changed. I'm still playing. I'm jumping between two different versions of Dead Rising 1 just to get my final thoughts out there before I do this major video I've been working on. Other than that, we just got done playing the finals. It's a pretty big staple when it's me, you, and one other person, like Harrison typically.
Like for whatever reason, like the finals just has not really gotten old. I think a big portion of that is the fact that I mean I don't think any of us really play it solo. So when we do play it, it's like once a week, and it's for 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours at a time. So it's not like we're just overloading ourselves with that one game every day, but the finals has been a consistently good time.
I think the main thing is that, like you said, we don't play it super consistently. It's like near the end of the week, maybe once throughout the week. I think just overall the game is scaled very well as far as in-game offerings. Just because it feels, the matches don't overstay their welcome. There's a decent amount of content. I kind of wish there was a little bit more for Power Shift, but I'll take what I can get.
I agree.
And jumping between the different play styles and different weapons that you have available at your disposal, I don't know. It's a well-spaced, well-scaled thing for what it is, and I can only imagine what it's like to love every bit of the finals, because we really just stay in Power Shift, which is fine by me. But there are people out there that jump between Power Shift, Team Deathmatch, and the cash grab, whatever it's called. The main mode that I can't even fucking remember the name of.
The only reason why I don't like Quick Cash is because it's a non-respawn mode. I've always had a problem with those modes. I just don't like the flow of it.
Are you sure? I think you're wrong about that.
No, it's if you die, you have to get rezzed by your teammate.
I think you're wrong about that. I'm pretty sure there's a respawn.
If that's the case, then we should definitely try it.
Yeah,
I was like 99% sure that's the case.
If there is, that might have changed, or they might have like a sub variant of Quick Cash where there's like a casual version of it where there are respawns. That might have been what I played. I honestly can't remember, but I think the option's in there somewhere. But yeah, so we've been keeping up with the finals. I've been playing a bit more in fighting games. The 14th anniversary of Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, was today, and so I celebrated by giving Harrison exactly what he wants. By because he loves Marvel. Like I love Marvel too, but like that is the game that he will always want to go back to play. So we went back. It's actually funny. Yesterday when we were sitting around, we were talking to you, we were just kind of both itching to like play some Marvel for some reason, which is rare for me because I get kind of burnt out on it just for how long we've been playing it. But we're both like, yeah, we should play some Marvel tomorrow. And then I find out the next day that it is the anniversary. I'm just like, that's weird. That's a problem. That's how you know you've played a game too much, is when you're subconsciously thinking about the fucking anniversary of it coming out and wanting to play it. But yeah, so we played a bit of that. We'll probably end up playing a bit more. It's very fun. Classic. trying to will a Marvel vs. Capcom 5 into existence, and if the leaks are to be believed, that's coming down the line sometime next year. I hope so. Normally, I don't give leaks too much in the way of, credence, but everything else in there has either been true or somewhat true or has yet to come. So, fingers crossed. Other than that, it's been, the gacha rotation. Comes some solo fighting game screw around stuff. I've been playing Battlefield 6 with you. I've also had it open. I've been playing, kind of not nearly as much as you, but I've been playing a little bit of Battlefield 6 on my own too. And it's been pretty good. I noted this to you, but I said, like, as much as I like the objective modes, and I will never be like the big team deathmatch guy, especially in a game like Battlefield, a lot of my grievances with the maps go away when they chose the right cutouts of each individual map from what I've experienced so far for team deathmatch and smaller modes. So for whatever issues we have with the big maps, I think there's some saving grace for the smaller selection.
I really don't play Conquest at all in Battlefield, which is kind of funny because that's Battlefield's claim to fame of like the big game modes, big maps rather, but that's the mode that you play. That's the God. What the hell am I trying to say? Like that mode, Conquest, is what caters to the big maps most of all.
That is the Battlefield mode,
Yeah, I just don't have a consistent squad to play with. Maybe my tune would be a little different if I did, but I've been sticking with Breakthrough almost exclusively because it's so focused. And then I also like Escalation because I like it's like Escalation is Conquest, but every time you reach a certain threshold, one of the points gets taken away, so the fights and the battles get like more and more concentrated, and that's what I like. But yeah, I mean, the maps are there's a handful of maps in Battlefield 6 that I'm really just not a fan of. Ironically, the New York maps is one of them. Because you and I both live in New York, and it's really cool to see New York City like as a playable location. But just like in real life, the map fucking sucks. At least for me.
Yeah, I get you.
So, yeah, but overall, like I really do enjoy Battlefield. I think this game definitely has got its hooks in me. It's probably going to be a staple for a long time. Just
I can imagine
based off of the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to hear about?
That's pretty much all I've been playing. So yeah, let's move on to your full thing. You can give them to me in whatever order you want. I'm just excited to hear what you had to say.
Well, do you want to hear? Okay, I'm gonna give you Black Ops first because I'm gonna save all the positive stuff for the end. Yeah. Okay, so I made it through like 4 or 5 missions of Black Ops 7 campaign. I really have very little interest in the multiplayer just because we're already into that territory with Call of Duty again, where it's just like it's not the COD that I want. That it's clearly not made for me. It's way too fast. It's too cartoony. Like I don't know. The list goes on. I'm not really going to talk about multiplayer though because I have very little interest in it at this point. But the campaign it's borderline offensive, Anthony. And yeah, okay. So right off the bat, it's an online only campaign. So there's no pausing it, even if you play it like solo. That's a big detractor for me already because I am at a stage of my life where like I am gonna need to pause something at a moment's notice, almost no matter where I am. Yeah. And that's a pretty big deal for me. And also, it's a single player, it's a campaign mode. Like, why the fuck can't I pause it? It's just stupid, especially if I'm there by myself. Number 2, there's no fucking checkpoints. So if you die and you're like 3/4 of the way into a level and you die, granted, you have the self-res kit, so like they keep on trying to shoehorn all these fucking Warzone mechanics into a Call of Duty campaign. Nobody wants it. Nobody asked for it. Like, they have to stop doing this. If you die and you already used a quick self-res and you die again, guess what? You are playing that entire level all over again. Which is like, I'm sorry, but in what world? I think this is the first time COD has never had checkpoints in their campaign, which like by itself is just preposterous. So that's number 2. Number 3, just the tone of the campaign alone is just like, I know they jumped the shark already with Call of Duty, just overall, like not counting the Modern Warfare sub-franchise, but like, dude, it's this game within the second level has taken it to a whole different level. It like, okay, spoiler alert, I guess, if anybody's actually interested in playing that, if you are listening to this, but you know how Treyarch chose the worst ending from Black Ops 2 to make a canon,
yeah,
and then, like, this is the direct sequel
hate
to that
so much.
Yeah, so in the second level, like, you get dosed with this neurotoxin or something, or some gas, I don't know, and you and your whole squad are all sharing the same hallucination. So like, by itself, that just makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
Because as you're making your way out of this complex, like, there are mercenaries and like these lab employees that are fighting each other. So like, clearly the message they're sending is like, all these people are not having the same hallucination, but for whatever reason, this one squad of Black Ops soldiers are all having the same hallucination, and they can all communicate together. It's kind of a nitpick for the sake of the campaign, but it's still like, it's just, you take 1 second and actually apply any kind of rational thought to it, like, you're gonna run into these plot holes. Like, it's very strange. So in the second mission, you fight Raul Menendez, but he's a hallucination. And the way that they structure this fight is that you have to damage like all these ads that they spawn around him, and then once you deal a certain enough damage, he goes away, and then you run over to this like pickup in the same way that, remember, like Black Ops Zombies, like you run over to like a nuke or one of the kill streaks or whatever. Like, it's that type of mechanic, but it's a machete. So you run over to the machete, you pick it up, you can call in this kill streak, and it's just a gigantic building-sized machete that you can call. Like, it's just so out of left field, especially for Call of Duty. Now, I understand it's a hallucination and a dream sequence and blah, 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 but like, it's the entire level is like this. Like, it's not like a one-off that's like 5-10 minutes long. No, it's the entire level. It's very jarring for a Call of Duty campaign to have this type of thing in it, especially when all of the campaigns, even the previous Black Ops campaigns, for the most part, have been relatively grounded in reality. It's so strange, man. And then you move on to like the next two missions, and you're in another hallucination with your entire squad, and you find Frank Woods. Remember from Black Ops 1 when you find him in that shipping container surrounded by like dead body. You basically you find him in a shipping container, and then he gets infected by this toxin, and he turns into like this gigantic fucking like 3-headed plant that you have to destroy. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Seems like a fucking mess.
It's a complete nightmare. It's a disaster. Actually, the boss name is the Nightmare. That didn't hit me until I said that. Yeah. So it's just a bad Call of Duty campaign, and I don't even care if I didn't finish it. They keep on shoehorning these open world segments in that are clearly prepping you for this end game mode that they have when you complete all the campaign missions, and like, I know it hasn't been like this for a while, but like, the Call of Duty single player experience is no longer for the person that just wants like a fun, entertaining blockbuster story set in the Call of Duty universe. No, like, it is now training wheels for whatever mode they want to ram down your throats this year. So I would probably give it a 4 out of 10 if I had to grade it right now. I think the gameplay overall is fun. It feels pretty good. It definitely feels better than Black Ops 6 in my opinion. I always liked the near future setting. That's why I like Black Ops 2 so much. But everything else around it is just like, it's just dumb, and it thinks that you're stupid too. And then another thing that is just coming to me now as I'm ranting. So when you're playing by yourself and you're moving through the level, there are different voice lines that play that are, it's like battle chatter and other like story content that is delivered via voice lines that is like you and your squad talking to each other in the level. But guess what? They're not fucking there. It's just you. And then you reach a certain point in the level and it goes into a cutscene, and then voila, your whole squad is with you again. Like, it's just dumb. It's just fucking stupid. And again, it thinks that you're stupid too. So I really wouldn't recommend this campaign to anybody. I'll probably finish it just to say that I've just to say that I finished it, because I usually do play through every COD campaign that is out. I'm just that type of fan. I've been with the series since literally the very beginning, and I will continue to see where this franchise goes. It's probably the last thing that I ever play off of Game Pass, because I'll most likely be canceling it once they inevitably raise the price. But yeah, like Black Ops 7 is just fucking weird, dude. At least the campaign. The campaign is it's not very good. It is not a Call of Duty game at all. I haven't touched zombies yet, which, I mean, if you want to play one day, I'll jump into it. I'll probably try. What?
We could probably give it a shot at some point.
Yeah, I'll try the multiplayer just to try it. I'm not my hopes are not high with it, but it just, they followed up the most successful Call of Duty ever with Black Ops 6 with whatever this garbage is. It's just crazy. Like, at least the campaign in Black Ops 6 was good. Cannot say that about Black Ops 7. And it's kind of a shame, because the lead who plays the role of David Mason, Milo something, I cannot remember his last name, nor could I pronounce it. I actually like him as an actor, and I think he's actually a really good pick for the role of David Mason. But his talents are just wasted because it's a terrible campaign. So it really is just it's a shame. So that is my elevator pitch review impressions of the Black Ops 7 campaign. I will probably have more to say next week after I try the multiplayer and the zombies respectively. But as of right now, the campaign is it's dog shit, man. Like, yeah, it plays good, it's fun and everything, but like everything else around it is just bad. Whether it's from a technical standpoint or a writing standpoint or whatever. Okay, so move on from that. I have put, how much time have I put into this game? 93 minutes in total into Arc Raiders. And I would have put more time in, but just the way that my life is right now is very difficult to really sit down and play an online game that I need to be dialed into for an extended period of time. So I put an hour and a half in. And right off the bat, you can tell that this game was made with a lot of care and a lot of passion. From the way that it looks to the way that it plays and the systems that are in place and the lore and the overall like world building that Embark has done for Arc Raiders is honestly top notch. And maybe that's maybe I'm not qualified to say that right now because I only have an hour and a half playtime in the game proper, but I feel confident in saying that. And I will say, the audio design in Arc Raiders might be in the top 3 best audio design in any game I've ever played. That it is right up there with Modern Warfare 2019. Like, that's
high praise.
Good. I know. Well, I'm telling you, once you inevitably get it, which I know you're going to, we'll play a few rounds together and you'll see what I'm talking about. Like, it's very important to listen just as much as it is to watch what's going on around you. So from a technical presentation, and this game is running off of Unreal Engine 5, so like that should speak volumes by itself. I have not had any crashes. I have no hiccups, no glitches, no major technical issues to speak of. I know it's only been an hour and a half. I'm going to be playing more within the next week, but right off the bat, there has been nothing that I raised an eyebrow at or noticed overtly. Now, as far as like how the game actually plays, the AI bots, which I'm sure you've heard of in the past, they are no joke. They will fuck you up. I was actually doing a run and I had my backpack was totally full. I had a bunch of really good gear that I needed and that I needed to extract with. And I go to this hatch that is supposed to lead you back to Speranza, which is the safe town that you go back to, that you extract to. So I get to this hatch and I'm like, okay, cool. Let me jump into this thing and I'll be done and I'll get all the shit that I need. Get to the hatch. You need a hatch key. I don't have a hatch key because it's like my 3rd time ever playing this game. So I had to cross this giant, like empty, like dried out ocean or river, lake or something. And I got fucked up by like 2 different bots. And I had a gun with me and I took out one, but then I got zapped by the other one and my health just ticked away that I just went down. Like the enemy AI demands your respect. And I actually really like that in a game like this. Going beyond that, you and I were pretty big into DMZ when it was in its heyday, right? We both really enjoy it, but between the PvP and the PvE content. It was really,
It was a
really
solid mode.
well put
A
together.
lot of fun.
Right. This game, dude, I know it's been an hour and a half. It really scratches that itch. It really does.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it definitely is. And furthermore, I was playing solos. No, I shouldn't say any. The vast majority of players that I did run into, because it is going to happen, they are very friendly. Most people don't want to get into a fight. I've had a couple that just sucker punched me and took my shit and left. But the vast majority of other players that you meet out in this world, they don't have any interest in getting into a PvP fight. It's like this weird unwritten rule of the game. Like everyone is trying to get their quest stuff done, looking for very specific items, trying to take out certain arc enemies, and it is like kind of strange how unanimously agreed upon it is not a good idea to kill each other. It is much better for you as an individual and collectively if we work together, or if we just like say hi and go our separate ways, which also happened a lot. I just think that's really, really cool. So overall, Arc Raiders has been a very interesting experience so far. I'm very excited to jump in and play it more once I get some free time, which will probably be at some point tomorrow night. But so far, so good. And they just added a new map with 2 new different enemy types. And I see a very bright future ahead for this game. So this is all off the top of my head. I haven't written anything down. So okay. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. The systems are all very easy to understand, which I think is really important for a game like this. The proximity chat is so well done. Like, so if you're inside and you use, and I use push to talk, but if you're inside and you use the proximity chat, the sound of the other person's voice will change depending on the environment that you're in. So if you're inside, it's very echoey. If you're outside, depending on where they are in relation to you, the audio will come from that direction. If you're wearing a pair of headphones, they have directional audio. If you are like, if somebody is standing up against the wall, you can hear the sound like reverberating off of the wall, even if you're outside. Just the attention to detail, even on such a trivial thing like proximity chat, like they didn't have to go to the lengths that they did to make it this good. That was very impressive to me. So I don't know. Overall, Arc Raiders is very, very good. I can see why it's getting all the praise that it has. And actually, at the time of this recording, it surpassed its all-time player count. I'm actually going to look it up right now because it beat out Battlefield. I know that much for sure.
Yeah.
So it was like almost at 500,000 players, which is crazy. Let's see. Logging the Steam DB right now. Okay, so Arc Raiders is number 3 on Steam's most played games ever. It has a 24-hour peak of 400. Yeah. Has a 24-hour peak of 481,000 players, and there is 3,506 players. No, 300,000. I can't talk. 300,000. Yeah, 356,000 players playing right now. Third most played game on Steam, full stop. That is crazy for a game.
That is, yeah.
For an extraction shooter. I actually think that if Ark was one of, if not the first extraction shooter to actually release, people would have a very, very, very different attitude and outlook on that genre overall. I think that the fact that a lot of the game is focused on the Ark robots is very smart and very important. And it just they nailed it. They did a great job. And the numbers speak for themselves. Actually, so 24-hour peak is 481,000. The next step down is Battlefield at 299,000. That's a big difference. That's a big, big difference.
Yeah.
So congrats to Embark. You guys fucking did it. Like, that's wild just how successful this is.
Yeah, I mean, everything you've said to me lines up with what I've been hearing, so it's good to hear this from, like, a more, I guess not trusted, but, like, a closer source to me. And it's just, overall, I mean, everything about the game seems quality. You mentioned that, it scratches a certain itch, which is kind of left unattended because, we've talked about extraction shooters quite a bit recently just because of the necessity, but I feel like aside from their relative, I guess, sparseness of those kind of games, I think that it's still relatively rudimentary. Like, I think the big popular ones that everybody plays are really just get out with very little progression outside of that, and the ones that have been updating to do that haven't been really quick to the draw. So seeing something like Arc Raiders, which between what you've told me here and everything that we've talked about in, just in private, about, before you got it, about what the systems were and everything like that, and everything I've heard, it really does feel like this is like a step forward for the genre. I don't want to make it sound like
absolutely
it's, yeah, I don't want to make it sound like, oh God, this is the best thing ever to happen. But like, that's just what it seems like to me, based on everything that I've heard, everything I've seen, is that it is somebody's finally taking that next step with the genre, with Arc Raiders.
Actually, what I just thought of something else actually. Do you remember what that map was called in DMZ, where you have to load into the main map, travel to a certain location, and then go into it from like a bunker? Do you remember that?
I remember what it is. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like you could basically leave the game to go to an instanced area from within. So, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The new map that they just added, so you can't access it from another map, but it's its own standalone thing. But for whatever reason, it's very reminiscent of that bunker map in DMZ, because I know, like, when we were playing DMZ avidly, I remember certain people would try to team up and work on their contracts and quests together just to like get it done. In this new map of Arc that just came out the other day, that is not the case. For some reason, the vibe that this map gives off is like very PvP focused, and everything that I've seen so far has been people load into this map much smaller than everything else, and like they just get into fights immediately. But it's very reminiscent of that other interior underground map that DMZ had. But anyway, I'm gonna stop gushing about Arc Raiders because we're already 30 minutes in. But I just wanted to get all of my thoughts out because it was just the level of success this game has had so far is unprecedented for the genre. So good on Embark.
Yeah, very good.
Anywho, you got any updates while we're in the beginning of this episode?
I do kind of have one. I'm gonna let it sit a little bit just because I want to see the dust fully settle on this one, but I don't have any updates otherwise.
All right. Let's see. What do I got so far? Troy Baker butts heads with Neil Druckmann. I thought that was pretty funny. That was an article from Games Radar. I just don't think they have the same creative vision.
Now that you mentioned, I do think like it was some kind of issue with how, the just the overall direction of the games they've worked on together. I mean, obviously, like a voice actor can only do much. They're there to bring life to a character, and sometimes they go, I won't say off script, but they add something that wasn't intentionally there. So it's like how much I don't want to be the guy that defends Neil Druckmann, but like realistically, how much could Troy Baker expect out of this?
Yeah. Actually, I do have an update. I have an update to the Bungie lawsuit that I talked about last week about the lawsuit over the Red War campaign. Yeah. So, Bungie settled out of court. I don't know what the amount was for. So the reason why they settled out of court is even funnier, actually. Okay. This guy who was making these allegations for plagiarized work, he really had no legs to stand on, apparently. Like, his claims were kind of bullshit. But the reason why he won and got the settlement was because Bungie removed the entire Red War campaign from being playable out of Destiny 2. And they couldn't go back and prove that it wasn't plagiarized because that content is no longer playable. So they had to settle.
Hasn't this happened before, or did I hear somebody guess that this could possibly happen? Because I feel like this is the second time.
No, this lawsuit started a year ago.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like this exact scenario of them being unable to defend themselves because of vaulted content has either come up before. Maybe somebody was predicting that's how the trial would go or how the whole case would go. But I swear to God, I've heard that before, that, like, they were unable to defend themselves from something based on vaulted content. but that's pretty
There's
funny.
more than likely chance that is the case because Bungie has been through so much turmoil in the past couple of years. It's kind of crazy. But that was the bow on the top of this little present again. Bungie lost. I don't guess they didn't lose, but they couldn't prove the fact that the plagiarism claims were bullshit, so they had to settle. So that guy got paid probably way too much money, and yeah, and I don't think I brought up last week that Sony is not satisfied with the current overall Bungie earnings as of late. I don't think I mentioned that last week, but I'm not going to mention like a specific article or something. It's just they put out a press release saying that it fell below their expectations of how Destiny and Bungie is performing overall, and it's just like fucking duh. Like everyone could have seen that one coming. So yeah, that was a update that I had. Let's see what else I got here. Did I talk about the Destiny roadmap last week or no?
Yeah, we talked about Destiny content in general. I'm gonna be honest, a lot of it, like, while I can maintain a lot of the information, you do talk about it with such frequency that me as a layman, I kind of lose track of exactly where we've been treading exactly.
Right. Well, okay, I'll keep it very short and brief. Bungie came out and they admitted that they, quote unquote, missed the mark on how the future of the game should go. They put out like this pseudo roadmap, and they said, we're sorry, we're gonna update things the way it should be updated, blah blah blah. They made some vault quality of life changes, but that was really about it. Yeah, no, I don't know, man. It's just, yeah, every fucking week is something different. Let's see. All right, well, that's like a lot of the small stuff that a lot of the other stuff is just like Black Ops 7 Metacritic narrowly beats Battlefield, but that I'm actually kind of shocked at that a little bit because Battlefield is it's such a superior game. Like that Battlefield 6 as a standalone installment is so much better in every way so far. Let's see, the campaign is online only. Already talked about that. I might as well dive into one of the juicier things. Valve announced a ton of new hardware. So
yes, they did.
Something that warrants conversation. Would you like to take the reins on this?
Well, I have more to say about the Steam machine, the real jewel of this event. I don't know if you have anything else to say about the rest of the stuff. Yeah, that's what everyone's been calling it. That's a pretty good name. And the funny thing is, it's not. It
will
is
never not have that name. That's it. That's
a pretty good name, especially with the actual size of the device. But before we talk about that, do you have anything to say about the rest of the stuff they announced? Because I basically don't have anything to say about it.
The controller is what it should have been from the beginning. I will say that right out of the gate.
Yeah, I do like the fact that they did touch pads instead of like changing the sticks into like touch like pads themselves. I'm glad they tried it, I guess. I like it when new ideas are tried, even if I don't like the ideas in question. But yeah, no, this new one definitely looks a bit nicer than their initial attempts.
The headset itself, the Steam frame, while I am still largely unconvinced of VR overall, to me, the Steam frame does kind of seem like a step in the right direction for a VR headset, if only from a utility standpoint. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think we've definitely brought up utility before and like where these pieces of hardware need to go to kind of for buyers to get the most bang for their buck. I will say, as somebody who's also, we have very similar positions on VR, as someone who's not particularly convinced about, where it is, I am, again, it's one of those things where, not for me, I'm happy it's there. Like, I'm happy somebody's trying. I'd much prefer that this particular branch be tried, or the people who are more into the niche things have their space, so to speak. So I'm glad Valve is kind of like, they're basically like a cornerstone of this. Like, everybody else is trying and, flailing at different things. I know that Meta and was it the Meta Quest? Is that what they called it?
Yes.
Their angle was to bring on a lot of industry old heads. Like, I think, what is it, Carmack? Was Carmack working on the Meta Quest? Am I getting my wires? I don't know. There was somebody was working on the MetaQuest, and they also have the angle of attempting to get different exclusives. Like I think Resident Evil 4 VR was exclusive to the MetaQuest. Don't play it. Censored. Then we can move on from that. But I am glad that they're sticking it out, even though I think it's a very gimmicky thing. I don't really think it had its moment, even with again Valve coming through with Half-Life Alyx, something a lot of people like to say is like one of the best true VR games available. I give them a lot of credit for that, even if it's not for me. I watched Joe play it. He seemed to have some fun with it. Overall, I'm sure, once again, I've butted heads with Joe on this plenty of times where I think VR is kind of crap. But again, I'm glad it's being tried. I'm glad, people like him are happy that, they're continuing to. It's not like 3D TVs that kind of just died, even though I made a lot of comparisons to 3D TVs, so you lasted longer than that and you're still trying, which is good. I like to see it. It's an innovation thing, for all of the complaints and all of the lack of software. Innovation is good,
Yeah, I think it's going to take. You can finish your thought.
No, I was going to say, it's like, worst comes to worst, if they just keep improving the hardware and get us into a position where it's kind of like VR, AR, hybriding, that kind of stuff, that's a great place for VR to be, because once that hardware becomes standard, easier to produce, and cheaper, that means they're always going to be in the space, which means people can continue to develop applications and games for it. That's a big win.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I mean, VR is a really cool concept in theory, and so far it has not gotten out of the theory stage for me. And I've said this to you historically. I've historically said this to you, that for me to really care about VR, it's gotta, and I know what you're gonna say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I don't care. It's gotta be on the same playing field as the shit that we see in like Ready Player One. That's the only way that I'm going to be remotely interested. And I know that is like light years away. I get that. But that's just my overall thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think
we'll see a hardware and graphical renaissance with VR that we did with the console generations the last like 20 years. Maybe, who knows? I mean,
I'm gonna be completely honest. I think because just from Moore's law and just once technology becomes easier to produce, it becomes cheaper. I think the hurdle with like that kind of experience that you're waiting for that would really interest you is not going to be so much hardware, because eventually hardware will just catch up to that point. Matter of time. I think we'll probably live to see it. I think your main problem is going to be content threshold. Like I don't think there's going to be I don't think like Ready Player One or like a theoretical game or scenario like a Ready Player One relies on a certain level of content spread, and I think that, even if somebody had that same vision that you do and they tried, it would fall short as far as what you're capable of actually doing in it. It would be almost like, how we talk, I don't know if we spoke about it on the podcast, but we spoke about Fortnite at some point and how it's becoming kind of like a games as a platform kind of thing, where there's different games you can go on there. I would envision like one of the earliest attempts into what you want is a game that essentially has that games as a platform, and what it will really amount to is maybe like a virtual reality chat room, like a VR chat, and then you can do there'll be the shooter game, the racing game, and then the rhythm game or something. It won't be as expansive as what a lot of people want it to be. So
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I mean, I think a big part of it is like the infrastructure for a service like that has got to be absolutely massive. And then, what does the actual hardware look like? And the thing is, without all these different, infinitely complex pieces coming together to create a truly exceptional experience, I don't think we're ever going to have VR in an offering such as, what like somebody like you and I would want out of it. But
I think it's possible, but the problem is if it even reaches that scale, it would be less about a gaming experience and more something in line with the internet, which is what a lot of people want, I guess. But it's just like at that point, it's like if I'm not using it for entertainment, I just fall back to I prefer my feet firmly on terra firma with maybe augmented reality. That's about as far as I'll go. Virtual reality would need to be for me just because the software or whatever the experience isn't there for me yet. You would either need to entice me with a really, really impressive game, or you need to start focusing on your secondary application as a tool, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. I think so. The overall take here is that the Steam controller definitely a much needed refresh for the hardware itself.
Yeah.
The Steam frame, while it's a step in the right direction, I don't think it's going to move the needle much in terms of like the overall reception of VR the world over. So
it's a brand new sail in a ship with no wind.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Okay, so the Steam machine, the Steam Cube, the Gabe Cube.
Gabe Cube, yes.
Why don't I'm gonna let you go first on this because I have some thoughts.
So I mean, overall, when I saw that, I was surprised something like this hadn't happened sooner. That was my first reaction. I think it's almost perfect in what it's targeting, just because they basically brought the specifications to a threshold where anything beyond that, and you would have somebody basically saying, why am I bothering with this? I'm building a new rig anyway. I think it is essentially the Series S of PC gaming. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say that. Speaking of which, I mean, I don't know what Xbox is going to do now because their ace in the hole was essentially being this but more powerful. We'll see what happens. But overall, I like a lot of what I see in that so far, to the point where I would almost consider it. My main gripe is like I think the one thing that it doesn't have is it's not necessarily a it doesn't have the same console certifications. It's still reliant on PC development. And what I mean by that is like we've talked about it before, where we're just like, okay, what's the draw of a console if not exclusives and this, that, and the other? And I always said it's plug and play. You know, you don't always get that. There are some rare exceptions where things just break, but plug and play is where it's at, and I think this is as close as a PC experience can get right now to that.
Right. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. But like you said, the other side of it is the games that you're going to play on it are really going to have to be like very, very, very well optimized, and that just ranges wildly across the board from game to game. Now,
that's the one downside of like basically saying play your entire Steam library on it is, you know, in that is a extremely wide net, and I'm sure most things will run spectacularly on it, but like when you start eyeing up, you know, future endeavors, like that's where I worry a little bit.
So they said that Valve said that the Steam machine, the Gabe Cube, is going to be equivalent to 6 Steam Decks in terms of power. I've heard.
Yeah.
I don't really know what that means because apparently it's running an ARM chip, right? Which is comes with its own host of concerns. For those of you who don't know, an ARM chip is like a mobile processor that it was altered to be used into a like an actual full-fledged computer, but it's like the architecture is. I'm not a computer science major, but the ARM chip is like a more spatially friendly product that doesn't require as much power, therefore not as much cooling, which is why this thing is so fucking tiny. But I was under the impression that would really limit you as far as what games you're really going to be able to play and play well. But apparently, from all the preview events that I've seen, it's great. And now, granted, like you said, the variety of games will range violently from things like Battlefield, right, which is super realistic, super photorealistic, to things like Hades, which, you know, almost anything would run Hades, I would assume.
Yeah.
So, as far as like who it's for, I think anything that Valve puts out will find its own audience. I think that's just number one. It's not going to be for people that are quote unquote normies. I don't really know how else you would put that. People that don't really know much about gaming or the PC community or, you know, just that realm. When you bring up what a Steam machine is, people will look at you sideways. They have no fucking idea what it is. And then when Valve tried to do a Steam machine, what was it, like 15 years ago? something along those lines.
That's way too. There's no way it was 15 years ago. I think maybe 10, maybe
Okay,
10.
so 10 years ago,
Yeah.
they tried to push the Steam machine, and it just did not have the launch that they thought.
I do think that
I don't even know why.
I do think it was marketed almost too much like a PC, which sounds weird to say, but I think that this is going to be a lot more marketable because just the form factor and the description of it alone is a lot more easy to sell, especially with the way that they marketed it during their little showing. I would say it's a lot more. I'm kind of in the same space as you, where I don't think it's completely normie friendly, quote unquote, but I think this is the best attempt at netting that audience that's like on the fence about PC gaming. I think that's who that's going to grab the most of, or people. I mean, it also depends on the price. Like if it's cheap enough, you might even get some people who are in my boat where it's just like it's nice to have a machine that I might have a little bit more faith in, running a lot of things out of the box. But at the same token, it's still not that console experience that you would get that same feeling from. So.
Yeah, that was another thing that kind of concerned me a little bit because they did not say anything about price. And I think for what they are advertising that this thing could do, I feel like the price is going to be... Okay, let me back up a second. I feel as if it's anywhere over $800, I'll say, maybe $850. If it's anywhere over that threshold, I think they're going to have a very hard time. As far as like...
I'll be honest, over 600 I think is where you run into problems. Even near 600.
How much is a Steam Deck now? How much is a Steam Deck now?
Pricey, I'm pretty
let's
sure.
Let's find this out because that's actually a really important metric to grade this against.
Let's see.
All right, Steam Deck is... Okay, it starts at 400. It goes all the way up to 650 with 1 terabyte of storage and an OLED screen.
I don't know.
So that's a pretty big difference. I mean, think that there's no way that this thing is going to be priced in line with the Steam Deck.
It can't. Like, I don't. I mean, it would have to be. You would essentially, if it's priced higher than 600, right? You would basically need to rely on your buyer not being as well educated or just buying based on name. Not saying it's a bad product. Not saying that at all. I'm just saying like anyone in the upper area of like enthusiast, I guess, or people who would be on the fence about building a higher end rig instead of just buying something out of the box. I mean, there's better options at that once you pass that price point,
Yeah.
I
don't know. That's something that concerns me because if they don't price it right, it's going to be a real tough sell.
Yeah, I think the way that a lot of people have kind of been sizing it up, and it's not really fair to do this because there are other considerations, but I think it's somewhere in between the Series X and the PlayStation 5 Pro when it comes to performance. I think just overall, like that's where like the raw numbers land them. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that's where you need to start considering the price. Like there's like I think it's a nice looking machine. I think it has a lot to offer, but I think it's if it once again if it goes above that $600 price point, or I mean you could also compare. I don't know what the PlayStation 5 Pro is going for right now, and the Series X is what now, like 620, 650 or something like that. So maybe they have some leeway.
The Series X is like $800 now.
Are you sure?
They just raised it again.
I know the price. I know the prices went up. I thought for just a Series X without maximum storage, I thought it was around 650. Maybe I saw some fucking coupon or something.
Okay,
I'm not
so
sure.
You're right. It's $650 from Best Buy. That's for the 1 terabyte model. I think the 2 terabyte was close to 8.
And I would believe that. That's another thing the Steam machine has the leg up on, is because it is expandable. There's a micro SD card slot, and there's a slot for your own personal solid state to go in there. Like that's something
which is
highlighted.
Such a nice touch.
That's awesome. They definitely had. There's a certain touch that Valve just has from experience,
Yeah. So the 1 terabyte Series X is $650. That's the base model. All digital is $600, and the 2 terabyte with the disk drive is $800, which is preposterous.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say, I mean, I guess my mind hasn't fully adapted, but like I guess $650 they could go. I don't see this. Then again, I mean, Valve is a different company. They're not necessarily hurting for sales and numbers and stuff. Maybe they're comfortable with 800 and just selling, instead of selling at a loss like consoles do. They're just happy collecting like a small fee from every one sold, maybe.
Well, Valve has always been that company that's prided themselves on letting the consumer do literally whatever the fuck they want to their product.
Yeah.
Like they are an open book as far as um, engineering goes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So because people could, like I said, yeah, like I just said, could do with it literally whatever they want. Rip it apart, make upgrades, do whatever. Doesn't void any kind of a warranty. That's just been like a part of Valve's culture. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they might be comfortable without, they're just like, okay, well we won't sell it at a loss like most consoles do, which is fine. It is a PC, product after all. But I guess we'll see, because one of the things we've been talking about, especially recently, and it goes to what you were just saying, is Valve is definitely, they're in their own lane. It's almost like a Nintendo situation where they just do whatever they want.
Well,
really.
not for nothing, Valve, for all intents and purposes, they have a monopoly on PC gaming. I'm serious.
I agree and disagree with you on this, just because I'm laughing because that recently came up where like a bunch of developers were surveyed and they said like, oh, does Valve have a monopoly? I agree based on share alone. I disagree based on their actual competition. They don't have competition. Everybody tries and they fail because they have stupid gimmicks, or the thing sucks. Like people don't trust these other companies.
Right, but there's still technically other offerings out there, but nobody can hope to compete with Steam because, like you just said, the market share alone is unbelievably large.
Yeah,
and they don't. I don't know.
They
don't try any stupid gimmicks. The only one that might even come close is Epic, but that is only because they have fuck you money and they can afford to pay for the exclusives.
The two storefronts that are closest, and it's gonna. I say closest. There's a bunch of quotes around it because it's really just as close as anyone has gotten. It is Epic, and that's just because, as you said, they have fuck you money. They buy out a lot of contracts. They give free games every month, that kind of thing. And the other closest is GOG, because they are in their own lane doing their own thing, much like a Valve does, and they're just saying like, this is our niche. Our niche is DRM free and preservation. And then what the hell is their launcher? They have a launcher now. It's not mandatory, which is a big thing for potential growth. There is, not forcing the actual software with the storefront. I think that's actually going to help them, and I think more people will be inclined to actually install the storefront because it's not mandatory, if that sounds right. But like, I forget what it is. It's not Luna. Luna's the Amazon failure. But basically, what I was
or God Galaxy. I have it on my
Galaxy. Galaxy's it. I think Galaxy is what it is. Yeah, Galaxy is the software you can download. But what I was saying, this kind of, again, this is another thing we talked about. Every major and vocal company that has attempted to make a competitor to Steam has had the wrong focuses out of the gate, because none of them are willing to build. And I'm not saying it's going to be like, oh, if you just go slow, you'll be at Steam levels in 2 years. That's not the case. These companies need to be willing to not be number one out of the gate, and none of them are willing to. Epic, even though Epic is still in the game kind of on that front, the only reason they're there is, again, fuck you money. And they're going to keep trying until it is just hurting their bottom line too much. And even then, the software will remain. And GOG doesn't really care about being the largest storefront. At least it's not one of their major focuses. They have other focuses, which is why they'll both remain. Everybody else that's tried has either scaled back or has basically just added bloatware to their existing games. That's how you get the EA launcher, the Ubisoft launcher, Battle.net, all these different things. I actually think if Battle.net was less intrusive, I think Blizzard would have had a good shot at being like, I don't know, maybe 1/4 the size Steam is, but like, it's really just a proprietary thing at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we got a little off track, but basically, yeah. So, you go ahead.
I am kind of like the perfect target audience for the GameCube, because I use my laptop a lot for portable reasons. And I don't use my laptop's monitor. I just don't. So depending on the power of it and the price, like, I would be very inclined. Yeah, I'd be very inclined to actually get one. But I don't know what any of that looks like. So I'm not making a hasty decision.
Yeah, I do think, again, I think if they want to get as much if they want to compete, so to speak, with the consoles. They're not obligated to. They don't need to. They wanted to. It's got to be around 600, no more than 650, I would say. Just considering current.
I think that's too low.
Yeah,
what they're offering, I think it's too low. I know that's what you think it should be.
Yeah, and then again, if we factor in the fact that they're not competing and they don't want to sell it at a loss, close to 800, 850, I think they could get away with charging 1,000 if they really just don't give a shit and just want to have their own machine out there. Kind of like what I was saying.
People would absolutely buy it. It would still sell out.
It would sell. I don't know if it would sell out. It would do reasonably well, like Steam Deck levels. Steam Decks tend to sell out just because of their limited availability globally. Like they don't sell in certain regions and whatnot. So I don't know. It's a tricky thing, and it's even trickier to spitball the price.
I was even I'm within the next few months. I will be in the market for a new laptop. It's been something that's been on my mind for a few weeks now. I've been looking around to see what's out there, comparing price to performance, because this laptop that I have now that I primarily game off of just because of how my schedule is, I have to game at 1080p. I have to. If I don't, then I will not get the performance that I want. And of course, everybody's mileage varies with what you want, what you're willing to accept. But I have to game at 1080 in order to get anywhere close to the performance that I actually want. Now, my budget for a new gaming laptop was going to be somewhere in the ballpark of like $3,100 to $3,500.
Okay.
Take me a little bit to save up, but like that is what I would be willing to spend on a replacement laptop that is as powerful as my desktop at home. But I need the portability option for it. Now, depending on the power of the GameCube and how much if they're going to charge for it, like that could be a really serious contender.
Yeah.
Like if they're going to charge, even if they do 1,000, right, which is still it's a lot of money. We both agree on that.
Of course.
Even if they do 1,000, but it offers performance in the ballpark that I am looking for, that's a no-brainer for me. Like, why wouldn't I do that? So, I don't know, man. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. And they made this announcement at the perfect time, at least for me.
Yeah.
Because I could save $2,000. Why wouldn't I do that? And I am now very eager to see how much it's going to be and what it can run at what level. So that's going to be interesting. I will certainly have my eyes on the horizon for that. But anywho, let's move on. We don't really have that much time left.
Yeah. The last thing I just want to say about the Steam, the Valve's whole thing that went on, it is worth noting that I think they immediately stopped selling the Index after they announced the frame, so you can't go back and get the older stuff. And also, people question them quite a bit about the possibility of a successor to the Steam Deck, and I think their response was something along the lines of, "Yeah, I know that was part of what their answer was, but they basically just said, we're not going to make a new one until we can get something as good in a similar price range. Or, I'm sorry, a substantial upgrade that makes sense, I guess you could say. So something as good as it needs to be right now and also at the same price, and it's just not there yet. So they're happy with just this. Yeah.
That is the right answer.
No need. This isn't a fucking iPhone, and even iPhones are ridiculous. Everybody's used to year-over-year hardware increases. In a lot of cases, just be comfortable with what you got.
Well, look at Nintendo. That's basically their business model.
Yeah, exactly.
And they consistently outsell every other competitor.
Yeah, like Nintendo Switch 2, weaker than the GameCube. See the perspectives. There you go.
Yeah. So I don't know. This was actually a really illuminating conversation because I really was looking at a laptop for like fucking $3,000, which is very expensive for a laptop, in my opinion.
I honestly think that if it works out for you, I think you're gonna save because of the fact gaming laptops are that expensive for a reason. So if you get something without all the necessities of a laptop being at that price, I think you'll end up very, very happy. You'll save a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. So let's see. I only have two other things to talk about. One of which is Rockstar is porting Red Dead Redemption to basically everything now. It looks like it's getting the Skyrim treatment, which is like, I mean, that's cool, but like, why?
I mean, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with games being made more available. I have a problem with the level of fanfare that these things get when they do, because they treat it as like it's like they treat it with the remake levels of hype for what is essentially not even a remaster, but it's an HD port. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the way they treat it. I guess that's my takeaway on that.
All right, fair. I mean, I saw this. I was like, oh, cool, and then I moved on. Like, it was nothing really too substantial about that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned that. I think Fallout 4. You know, you mentioned Skyrim. Fallout 4 recently got an anniversary edition, and it launched with the same amount of bugs everybody expected. It broke all the mods, and you know, so business as usual over there.
Yeah. God. Little bit of Space Marine 3 news. Saber said that Space Marine 2 and 3 are most definitely not competing for resources, which is good.
Yeah.
Because I still plan on putting a lot more time into Space Marine 2. And
go for it.
Now that Warhammer 40K promoted Titus to Chapter Master, I think it was Chapter Master, that like opens up so many different possibilities for Space Marine 3. I'm sure some Warhammer lore aficionado will correct me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it was. Fuck, hold on. Now I need to find this out. Titus promotion. Titus from Space Marine. Why do I feel like it's Chapter Man? No, that means Calgar had to have died. I'm probably speaking in tongues to you right now. IGN isn't loading, Jesus. Again, this doesn't do anything for me. Oh no, okay. So he was promoted back up to, promoted back up to captain. Okay, so it's definitely not Chapter Master, captain, but still, it still opens up a good amount of possibilities for Space Marine 3. But moral of the story here is that those two games will not be competing for resources. They'll still be adding new content to Space Marine 2. Let's see. All right, so the last thing, something that you posted actually about Ubisoft. They abruptly, at the last minute, Ubisoft has halted trading of all of its shares and postponed its earnings call. This may suggest that the material news about the company and its future trajectory is imminent. Maybe a purchase announcement.
That's what a lot of insiders are saying. I mean, ironically enough, if that such thing has happened, they are required by law to tell us by tomorrow. So I guess we'll know.
Oh, really?
But
I mean, 17th.
Yes. I do. I mean, if everything lines up the way that it is in the background, that's where the requirement lies. But yeah, I mean, things aren't looking good for Ubisoft. There's only so many ways you can spell it. They are primed for a buyout. The only thing that, the same thing that dragged them down is the same thing that only leaves that potential up in the air is the controlling family. Is just they are
used to let go.
Yeah, they are control freaks.
Yeah.
So
it's really bad.
Yeah.
And obviously they've control freaked it directly into the ground.
Oh yeah, they're as ironic as it is that they're holding things back, they are the reason that, things led to this point.
But interesting because Ubisoft has been on a downward spiral, much like their logo, for the better part of 15 years.
No.
So very curious to see what that cryptic announcement was about. I'd be shocked if they weren't bought out, honestly. But
I mean, they're at the lowest point.
Yeah, that's all I got. Unless you have a rant that could last about 10 minutes.
No, not quite. But I was curious. You mentioned. I don't think you got to it. You said something about. Or you linked something. Your Arc Raiders dev shutting down its PS4 shooter after a year.
Oh yeah. Apparently the finals on PS4 is being taken offline for I think back-end performance issues.
Okay.
Surprised that it was even on there actually.
I mean, I'll be honest.
Embark blamed its evolving technology and the dated hardware's inability to handle that technology for the final shutting down. As we continue to advance, it's become increasingly difficult to maintain and optimize PS4 support without limiting the features and game modes we want to create. So yeah, it's a technical thing.
Yeah, I half and half believe that and half don't, because I've seen some pretty wild ports last a long time. I think that the only reason that kind of port even existed, or it was like an opportune launch window where they could put it on the older consoles, is that there's a lot of incentive, especially on the PlayStation side, to have as many things as possible on the PlayStation 4. Just because, you know, I mean, we talked about a while ago, they're just like, oh, this is the most profitable generation ever. And it's mainly because they've continued to support the PlayStation 4 and they're still getting a lot of money from PlayStation 4 users. And it's just like, last-gen ports in general are always going to be sketchy, but it's just like, they could pull the plug at any time once the usefulness is out and once technological hurdles catch up. So it's never a priority past how much money they can make from it from like Sony, you know. So it's it was just interesting to me because it just reminded me that of that asinine statement where they're like most profitable generation ever when the industry is in such a low point. And I'm reminded that the PlayStation 4 did rather well, and it's still doing well to this point with a lot of back end stuff. So that was the first thing that came to mind when I saw them talking about shutting this down. I'm willing to believe that, you know, Embark is being legitimate when it comes to technological hurdles that they're going through, just because of a lot of the back end stuff. But at the same time, I have to wonder how true it is. Although they would probably just come out and say it if it was a cost thing. I feel like a lot of companies are just upfront about that. But you know, I don't know. I guess I thought it was interesting. But yeah, my main thing with PlayStation 4 last gen ports getting shut down is like we're approaching, you know, I mean, I have a feeling next year we're going to start hearing about the next generation consoles out by 2027, maybe late 2026 at most.
Yeah, it'd be weird if we didn't, honestly.
Yeah, I can still, I will say that when that time comes, we're going to still see Sony stretching as much as possible on the back end on the PlayStation 4, just because I don't think the industry and the audience is quite in a position to readily jump into a next generation with excitement. You know, it's going to be like,
where are the games?
Exactly. That's the point. Like, I would say, like, you know, if you had a good launch lineup, it can't just be the usual stuff where it's just like Xbox is warming over their old catalog to get into whatever position they're in, and PlayStation is going to trot out another cinematic third-person experience. You know, it's like, who the fuck's excited? It's like, oh, like, let's just say they said, oh, launching with Heretic, the project, whatever the fuck it's called, intergalactic, interstellar, what the fuck is it called? The who's excited for that, honestly?
No, I think it's called Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah, I'm just, who's excited for that kind of stuff? You know, there's a lot of passive stuff.
A lot of people are, because it's Naughty Dog, and that's it.
I don't think I think their reputation took one too many knocks. I don't think people are going to eat this up the same way they did The Last of Us. And The Last of Us, as much as I disagree with the game and especially where the series went, The Last of Us had an appeal, you know. Naughty Dog's reputation is, even to like a normal player, is just like they've been just playing and toying with the corpse that is The Last of Us. You know, it's just like 9 of the last 10 releases they did have just been The Last of Us related, with remasters and ports and collections. It's like they're not everybody's kind of acknowledging, not to the point where it's like going to crash the industry, but even normal players are acknowledging exactly what PlayStation Studios is offering. However, there are two key things, and I'll probably have more to say about this next week, but there are two key things to consider. I think a lot of Japanese studios and portions of companies are starting to wake up to like the mistakes kind of made over the last decade, I guess. You know, it's focused at different points, but it's just like, I think the Japanese side of like PlayStation might be getting ready to revive some of their older projects and older studios, and I think they could potentially be cooking something up that might just set it apart from the last 10 years of PlayStation and just industry in general, you know, and that might excite people enough to get them to dip into another new generation. But it's all guesswork at this point, and hopeful and wishful thinking. I'm just, you know, I do think that one way or another, Sony is poised to continue outlying successes, even if they sound sketchy, you know. It's almost like the PlayStation 2, the sales, how it's just like whenever Nintendo is about to outsell the PlayStation 2, they just find like another 10 to 100,000 in sales they just never documented before for the PlayStation 2 to keep it as the best-selling console ever.
We misplaced this.
Yeah, exactly. It's so crazy to me that it's just like Nintendo gets close, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, lifetime PlayStation 2 sales were actually off by 100,000. Wild,
Yeah,
I know.
It's like when like a movie is about to outperform the original Avatar, they do like a special anniversary screening for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, only it's even more sketchy because I don't know where the fuck these are there regions out there where they still sell PlayStation 2s, or are they just they're just fudging the numbers? Like, I don't get it. Like, guys, I love the PlayStation 2, but I don't think, like, decades on, it's selling like an extra 150. Like, where are you pulling these numbers from? I don't know. But
No.
I have a feeling that, I guess to circle back is, like, even into the new generation, I do actually see the PlayStation 4 maintaining not direct support, but like servers for like games and experiences where they can still get money, because that's the only way that the PlayStation 5 generation is the most profitable ever. But
You're probably right.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there will be a day where we talk more about that, but that's about all I have to say.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's good about as good a place as any to wrap it up.
Yeah.
If you're still listening, thank you very much for listening. This was episode 80 of the Pregame Network podcast, and we will be back next week to talk about whatever bullshit happens in the world of gaming in 7 days from now. So on that note, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.